Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me, I'm Iris. I know it's been a while since I uploaded a video, but life got in the way. However, I really wanted to upload a last video before the end of the year, so here I am. Today, you'll be able to see me create a peaceful scene with watercolors inspired by the Japanese Children's Day. Children's Day takes place on May 5th in honor of children for a good future and in the hope that they will grow up healthy and strong. During this time, landscapes across Japan are decorated with Koinobori. Koinobori, meaning carp streamer in Japanese, are carp-shaped windsocks. They are made by drawing carp patterns on paper, cloth, or other non-woven fabric. They are then allowed to flutter in the wind. I really like both the meaning and imagery of this tradition. That's why I got inspired. Hope you like it! In every painting, the first step I do is to trace my original drawing on the watercolor paper with my light box. I do not draw directly on the watercolor paper because my way of drawing is very messy and I end up damaging the paper. If you don't know by now, watercolor paper is pretty expensive, so I don't want to spoil it. Then I wanted to preserve the koinobori as well as some parts of the drawing as I was going to paint the sky. I don't really trust masking fluid as I've had very variable results using it, so I try to avoid applying large amounts of masking fluid. I tried a technique which did not work whatsoever, with applying masking fluid only on the edges of the drawing and putting tracing paper on top of my drawing as a way to preserve without adhesion. I trusted the masking fluid around the edges would work as a sealant. I was wrong. The paint went through the tracing paper anyways, so it didn't really work, but let's move on. I then painted the sky with cobalt turquoise light. It was kind of tricky because I wetted the whole surface first, but it dried quite fast, and by the time I applied the first layer of blue, the application was not uniform. It still worked out as I wanted to have clouds in the sky, so after lifting the paint with tissue, the unevenness was not as noticeable. For the green field, I started applying a layer of terre verte from Holbein watercolors. When painting the mountains, I painted a first layer with manganese blue, which is a different, colder blue hue than the one I used for the sky. Why did I paint the first layer of the mountains in blue, might you ask? Well, the mountains are supposed to be receding in the background with atmospheric perspective, so they need to blend with the sky and not be as green and saturated as the foreground field. After wetting the surface of the lake, the water was painted with the same hue as the sky, because it's supposed to be its reflection. For the shadows of the mountains that are reflected on the water, I used a less diluted version of the same color. Here you can see that I'm trying to saturate the grass in the foreground because it needs to be a lot more present to show perspective. Going back to the mountains, the second layer applied was this time with terre verte, which is the same color I used for the foreground field. However, I used the paint from another brand, Winsor & Newton, as it is way less saturated than the Holbein one I used for the foreground. Yes, sometimes colors can be really different from one brand to another even though they have the exact same name. For the boy, I went with applying the local colors first. The local color is the inherent color of an object. For example, the jeans are blue, the shirt is yellow, etc. I first applied a rather diluted layer of color and added layer upon layer of the same color at first to work on the values. However, if you don't want to have a flat result, it is imperative to introduce different hues and vary colors. Adding just one color and different values of the same color is not going to work well when doing something that needs to pop out. For example, with the face of the boy, I did not only use skin color. I added vermilion, yellow, purple, etc., etc. To paint the hair, I did multiple layers of Payne's gray. The shirt was first painted with Cambodge Nova yellow and then with quinacridone gold. I love this color. It brings so much richness and warmth to the painting. I also used this same color on the face of the boy because I wanted him to look really healthy. He is sitting in a field, soaking in the atmosphere, so I wanted him to look happy and healthy. One of my favorite parts was painting those jeans. I don't know why, but I had a lot of fun painting them. Just like with the shirt, I first painted a quite diluted shade of blue and increased the saturation as I went on. Along the way, I added different colors, pink, purple, even a tiny bit of yellow in strategic places to add this richness I keep talking about. Okay, and now as you can see, I am adding a purplish color on the skin and more vermilion because the paper soaked in the color too much. And the face was looking a little bit lifeless. So I had to add a lot of layers of different hues. Now, the main color used for the cat was neutral tint. As I previously mentioned, I used Payne's gray for the boy's hair, which is a gray that has a bluish tint to it. On the other hand, neutral tint is a gray with a brownish or purplish tint, depending on your perspective. I really like those two colors because they have so much potential whether you use them in small quantities, really diluted, or if you use a lot of layers and to their maximum saturation. They are a fun way to make blackish elements without using black. Painting the cat was quite straightforward. I simply used multiple layers of neutral tint. The cat has a lot less nuance than the kid color-wise, so it was a little less fun to paint. Okay, now I started painting the Koinobori, which is the main theme of this painting. I have cut a lot of footage for this part because it was kind of boring watching me paint all those Koinobori again and again. To summarize, there were two main difficulties when painting them. The first difficulty was related to color combination. I wanted the Koinobori to have different colors, and as they are overlapping, the combination of colors needed to be planned out. I did a little test with a miniature painting first, but at the end, I ended up changing the color combination of my test when doing the final painting. To be honest, I kind of was disappointed with the one I'm painting right now, the middle one. The first layer was done with quinacridone gold, and I really liked it at this point of the process. But I messed it up when I started using red for the details. So yes, the combination of colors was quite hard to figure out, and mistakes were made along the way. I'm human after all. The second challenge with the Koinobori was the perspective. As there are Koinobori in the foreground, middle ground, and background, it was important to show atmospheric perspective just like I did for the mountains. The thing is, I did those that were in the background a little bit too saturated, so it became difficult to make them look like they were receding in the background. To fix this issue, I had to use color pencils at the end to try to add a layer on top of the ones in the background to make the colors a little bit more muddy and less vibrant, so those in the foreground would stand out a lot more. I do not have footage of that part because my file got corrupted, of course, otherwise it wouldn't be fun. So yeah, unfortunately you won't be able to see the last details I did with the color pencils. However, you'll be able to see the adjustments when looking at the finalized painting at the end of this video. The process for painting the Koinobori was the same for all of them. I chose one main base color and then applied a first very diluted layer. then a second less diluted layer of the same color. I went on choosing a second color for details and painting the scales, and finally used indigo for the eyes. The bamboo stick was an unexpected fun detail to paint. Just like the jeans, I had fun painting it, although it is just a simple detail. The bamboo stick holds the line of Koinobori. You have to imagine that there are other bamboo sticks holding all the Koinobori somewhere around, but I chose to only show one. Another piece of advice I can give you: when painting anything that has greenery, never ever use only green, otherwise it will look all one-dimensional. For greenery, I really like using green, of course, but then yellow for the highlights, blue for the shadows, and at the end of the process, I will use either a color with a reddish, pinkish, or orangey tone, as this ties up the whole thing and gives a lot of more life. Here you can see me painting the terminator of the bamboo stick. That detail really made the stick look like it was made of bamboo. Just as I advised previously, I'm adding pink in the background mountains to give more nuance to the colors. I think it's my favorite part when creating a painting. I love adding colors that are not supposed to be there logically, and the results are always fun. I finalized the reflection on the lake with adding the same colors used on the mountains on the surface of the water in a diffused manner. I really like the result. I think it looks cool. Last details, painting the lines that are holding all the Koinobori. And finally, I finished the grass field by adding flowers. That's one thing you didn't get to see at the beginning of the process. I actually used dots of masking fluid on the grass to preserve whites. So I removed the masking fluid, and it revealed a myriad of little white specks on the grass. I didn't want to paint very detailed flowers. I just wanted to have little dots of colors here and there. So this way was perfect for what I had in mind. This final part was so fun and satisfying because it gave so much life to the painting. These yellow, white, and red flowers made the painting into a more joyful one. I wanted to give some type of a very peaceful, happy vibe to this painting, and I think I achieved my objective. Don't you think so? So this is the final piece. I must admit, I really like the final result. The colors are so vibrant and the piece looks so much better in real life than on screen. I wish I could show you exactly how the original looks. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed spending some time with me. If you did, let me know by liking this video. And if you want to see more of my creations, subscribe. If you're watching this before the end of the year, I wish you a happy new year. Have a nice day, night, whatever the time you're watching this. If you're watching it until the end, thank you for watching.